Hey, welcome back.
That was probably super early.
Yeah, or super late. We can't tell. We're still working on our good countdown. I'm sure Bill, our awesome tech closet, is far better on it than we are. But our timing-wise,
look great.
Yeah, solid. We're getting super supportive that we're timed wellish.
We're just weird. It's cool.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So we have had a busy conversation during the break. Also took care of meat suit issues, and just shot the shit as you do, because nerds. Thank you. A guffaw from the closet. And part of that
a really good beer.
is, like we mentioned, this is very homebrew in a little bit. Honestly, we are still kind of like using these mechanics. Chirps. As I think interesting threshold, and as we learn it, and honestly, we may make mistakes, we may not. We're using this as a basis to tell a story, and so I'm going to tweak something as a result of what Truth Seeker did. And if it plays out in the long run like it is broken, we will fix it or kill your character. But
it's cool.
That's
or
a,
both. That might be a fix.
fix.
That's a fix.
Yeah. Both.
TPK.
Little did you know that there is the original is still out there. I don't know. Maybe not that I've said it, or will I?
I mean, if you merge, the original is not still out.
We're gonna triple that. Who knows?
You destroyed the planet.
I don't know. Excuse me, storytelling. I can do whatever I want. Within reason and logic. Thank you. At any rate, here's what I've come up with. Since this was also a unintended, perhaps, storyline path that for Truth Seeker, I want to tweak something with the game. What I see happening with this, with a merger of two consciousnesses, which perhaps is a terrifying precedence to set. It doesn't happen often, nor is it easy. We'll just leave it at that for now. But there is a combination of traits. There is a combination of also negatives that come out of this, positives and negatives. In the way I described it, it's kind of like constructive and destructive interference in physics with sound waves, or really with any types of waves, is when two crests meet each other, they double up, they add. We see this with sound, right? When we line up speakers just right, they add together and we get an intensification of the sound. Same time, the negatives do the same thing, and sometimes, like, positive and negative cancel each other out. For now, I'm open to arguments about canceling each other out, but for now I kind of see these like double up positives and these double down negatives perhaps in this play out of combining two voices. Mm-hmm. One sort of piece, which I'm not seeing as necessarily a huge drawback, but I think will be fun narratively speaking, like I want you to have two voices in your head. Caveat being that they're the same voice, which is...
But they don't necessarily always have the same opinion.
Exactly, because they have, like you mentioned, diverged a bit at this point. I mean, if this was...
Not a ton,
not a ton, but if this was like 2 days after the split, right, it would be almost like your internal monologue. Mm-hmm. Like you might hear an echo of your internal monologue. But now you've gone down, like you mentioned, and you pled for, 2 separate paths 3 years apart. Mm-hmm. Radically different outcomes, radically different paths and experiences. And so now that element of chance, that developmental piece, has diverged fairly significantly. Let's say that you're going to, suddenly become a murderer and not a murderer, right? Nothing extreme. Like you're saying, there's still some fundamental core pieces to you that are the same. But now choices have varied. And so to represent that for now, like the voices are going to war with each other, and I think will be fun narratively for you to do that. Mm-hmm. We'll see how that comes out. Both of the phasia, who knows, talking to each other, who knows. Just kidding. In your head, you can be fine. But let's see what the positives and negatives are to come out of that. Mm-hmm. One positive I saw to kind of balance this piece out is to take composure, which normally is right a +5 to lucidity, right, +1 to your threshold, mm-hmm. your trauma threshold, and I believe +10 to your insanity rating. And normally it stops at that, right? Like some of your traits you can stack. But I'm feeling like this is the place I want to tweak, and we'll see if this breaks things, unfortunately. I'm imagining that double down, that sort of magnified effect of you combining with yourself is, if there are multiple voices that were different personalities, that would be hard and confusing. Mm-hmm. But you're as Bill put it when we were chatting about fortifying yourself, right? Like you are like, no, you're definitely doing the right thing.
Yeah.
This is 100% the truth, which is probably gonna be super annoying. But your composure, right? Your
Very
confidence in
self-righteous.
yourself is doubled down because literally the voice in the head is another you saying, yeah, that's totally the thing. I fully agree with you.
Way to live your truth.
So you're more rooted in reality in a strange way, right? You're more connected, able to keep collected and keep yourself together. And I want to represent that by a level 3 composure. So that is what, plus 15 to your lucidity, plus 3 to your threshold, and plus 30 to your insanity rating. At least for now, it is exceptionally difficult for you to like really be mentally harmed / like go insane. I will warn you with a caveat before I also tell you the negative piece to this is this element is going to fade over time, right? Like as these personalities get closer together and their circumstances merge on a long enough timeline, right? Like now they've rejoined the same stream and they may have warring memories of a time in the past, but the collective story is now merged into a new personality and you'll kind of fade back to your original, let's say, right? Maybe some things will tweak off of it, but I like this for now. The negative side, though, to counterbalance this, is the double down on your desire to tell the truth. And I'm seeing that represented in the mechanics of the game, in that I want you to take the negative trait of bad luck, which says that you may not use your pools to flip-flop your dice rolls, which is major. That is a huge element of the game. And for those who maybe haven't played Eclipse Phase, / the people in the room who are still learning how to play Eclipse Phase, including myself, there are pools, kind of like inspiration for D&D.
Like the flex and stuff?
Yeah, so there's 4 different pools, my apologies, 3 different pools, representative of different circumstances, different skill sets that you're rolling, if you're rolling like a somatic versus the cognitive, right? Or flex, which is anything. You can use those points to do different things. Sometimes it is give a plus 20 to a roll. Sometimes it is doing it faster, right? It's like some element, narratively speaking, like you want to be using it as a resource. And one of those, and arguably the most powerful, is you flip a die roll. So if you've got an 83, you need a 60, you flip it to a 38.
Well, I can't do that.
You can't do that
Okay.
because Truth Seeker believes in the truth, and you're doubled down on that. And so, however the dice roll, that is the truth as is. You're not going to try and spin it.
Not
in any
only
way.
am I double down on believing in the truth, but Truth Seeker also has the restricted behavior that they put on themselves with an inability.
Hey, and we're back. I have no idea what you missed, but frankly, we've just been bullshitting while you're gone anyway and talking about game mechanics. So where were we? Lost track. We all agree that this sounds like a fun thing to experiment with.
Do the fun.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do the thing,
Awesome.
and the thing is
Hashtag
done.
ham of truth.
Hashtag ham of truth. We'll see how this goes. So we're gonna shift gears then. So that's happened. You are incapacitated for a while, shall we say, as you process the new reality for you.
Incapacitated.
At some point, maybe you think about, please do this. This is the plot hook. Seeking out somebody who may be able to, like, you know, give you a checkup.
Oh, I'm definitely going to go find Castor the second I wake up. Like,
Cool.
What the fuck did I just do to myself?
Just double check it to ourselves. I don't know if you're gonna have to say it that way. Are you gonna be going?
I made an Aryan character.
But you should explain that because that sounds sketchy.
That did sound sketchy.
I mean, an
So
Aryan
with an
character.
E-
No.
And
No,
Connor
let's
used
see.
to have this character that is really, I mean, I wasn't even there when all this happened, but when I started playing with them, like way back in the day,
Legendary.
their cleric had multiple personalities from other characters, like absorbed into their consciousness, and one of them was like Kotai, right? And then one of them,
There
Quaddle.
Flame,
a quaddle, a winged
Kotai.
serpent.
I don't know how to say it. Winged serpent. Yeah, but anyway.
A half-orc, a gnome druid. I think that was it.
Yeah, but still, that was a lot going on up in there.
Long story short, it was a character with a as I keep moving the mic, my apologies, a plurality of emotion or of personalities, and so they always refer to themselves as they and us and
we
our.
were, Arian was a we, but they were very integrated as a personality.
Yeah. So
Not just a royal we, the actual we.
So now, giving you inside joke context,
we.
connecting back to maybe like kind of would like to see something similar, maybe, but
See what happens.
up to you. See how it goes. It's a fun thing to play with. So, so we'll leave that there for now, and I want to transition over to comms 3. Sort of again,
Processing.
carrying on this character creation or introduction level, because you came out as a product of the last session with all of the sort of introductions of the previous characters. In fact, perhaps as a product of their actions, which could be intriguing to play out. This is you, like, coming out of that trauma, that disorientation, and coming back to consciousness and awareness. And you've already checked in with Pollux. And you're having that abstract concept of like the waves, right, of thought crashing upon you now.
Right.
And where you go from here? What do you do now that you're self-aware but don't know anything?
A complete systems check.
Complete systems check. All right, let me see your character sheet real fast.
I don't even know what that means.
Systems check.
I know. What are all your systems?
And that is an excellent point. What is all of your systems?
I think
like?
we're going to have to kind of make this up.
Sure.
No, I totally have some good ideas for this.
Okay.
So
My character is kind of by nature half done.
honestly, as they recommend in this game, and anybody listening and playing in, they recommend not making a ton of rolls, really, like, when it's contested, when it really matters, or some time is on the line. But I kind of set my own DCs based upon things, and I compare it to your skills, right?
Okay.
And just say, for instance, like, you've got 75 as InfoSec, which is huge, right? And so that is like, I think like 40 is professional on something. Like, you are next level
wanted
expert.
to just max that out pretty much.
100% makes sense for you being an AI.
Right.
So when you go through systems check, you like, there's no role involved with this. This is your jam. You are 100% aware in a way that you haven't been of yourself before. And I'm going to use that, like, what I'm saying to you now is kind of like your flow of consciousness happening to you. Like, you have a voice in your head, which is, while this is happening, you are commenting to yourself about how that's really interesting that I there's a voice in my head, and I'm referring to myself as I, and this is very intriguing. What does this mean? And oh, like, I see myself, my body, self. I've never used that word before. This is okay. And you see yourself connected through the network. Like, it is, not a body as we see it, but it is the code, it is the connections, it is the things that you access that you consider part of how you operate in the universe now. And you see it's branching through different pieces, more so than you ever have before. You're not just comms anymore, right? You're kind of connected to different parts of the ship. And, not to say that you have access to every single piece. It's not like this tendril connects you to life support, and now you have full access to all of life support, right? But there's like a little console button that you have a connection to somewhere.
Yeah, I can tell you where all that stuff's going on, but I don't necessarily have access to it.
There's like one light in a bathroom somewhere of a bathroom that has like 20 lights, and occasionally you can be like, turn on, turn off, turn on, turn off, right? Like, kind of idea. You're like, that's interesting. That's it, right? Like, these tiny little moments that are like appendages that you're vaguely aware of, but your self, that space that you are, is far vaster than it was before. And you are distributed because you realize that you are now far greater and larger than what you once before.
Distributed being.
That's how you managed to grow into the system to allow it to hold your capacity.
Yes, and speaking of capacity,
that's what she said. I don't know. It seemed like a good moment.
We have a storage issue.
Indeed, you, through that process, you're like tapped into a little bit of the info lines, and you are picking up on a conversation that Pollux is having with Castor right now, talking about this. Before we get to that, though, I want you to kind of maybe tell us a little bit about how you are sensing this awareness and what way you are starting to like think about self, think about where you are, think about humanity, reaching out, communicating. I don't know, or not. Like, I'm just curious what you're doing in this moment.
Well,
and connected to that, we can go over to include you in the conversation.
I imagine that it's like this. When I was just sort of a garden variety AI, have this range of responsibilities, and I've been watching the systems very carefully, making sure that everything is working right. When it's not, I make adjustments. But it's like that was all underground, and what I didn't understand was that above the ground is a whole entire world that I never really perceived before. And that's the like the hold, and all the and what's populating it. It's not just numbers. I was looking at it as numbers. But now it's no longer numbers as much as patterns, and the patterns are not just patterns, but they are even more complex patterns, and then the patterns have meaning. So, what am I? What am I doing?
As you're thinking that, your awareness of those patterns, you realize that the patterns are connecting to each other. They're reaching out. They're flowing through the comm system, and that's a good chunk of your body or awareness. And as you do that, you hear voices. You hear voices of the pattern. Those voices sound familiar. They like of a memory, of your mother's voice. I'm trying to communicate it in a human way, right? But it's like these are voices that you grew up with, for lack of a better term. Like that, a lot of this cacophony that is all of these communications reminds you of that blast that came through and awoke you.
Right, and I'm starting to borrow experiences that I'm hearing, and like try to like understand the relationships, and like how, like if it will, like what if I were in that position, like how would I feel, and then what?
Empathizing.
Yeah.
And that word comes to mind. You're like, am I feeling their emotions? Am I thinking about what it would be like to be in that position? Do I want this?
Yeah, it's really messy.
Overwhelming.
Yeah. You're not sure you have the capability to absorb all of it.
And then it's like I start to trip over my own processing of these experiences, because it's too big. It's way too big. It's like close your eyes and think of infinity. And then I realized that I borrowed that.
Hurt.
I borrowed that. That was in the transmission. That wasn't my thought. That was somebody else's thought. But now it's my thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
what does that do? What do you want?
So
what does that mean?
So am I just a repetition of what I'm experiencing? Am I just a filter? Or am I?
Did you get any Descartes? Transmission?
Probably.
Am I thinking, therefore I am?
I think
David Hume. If you base if you base your reality on your input, and your input can be deceived, then no reality can be proven.
Seems legit.
So it got deep. Half of our viewers are like, hold on. Am I sad? I don't know.
It's philosophy for you folks.
Mark, that's awesome. I'm really digging it. Continue with this path. So to say, in this process, like the question that comes to mind through all of this jumble of like this coalescence of self is how I see this conversation. Like I love where you're bringing this. Eventually, I feel like, and I see you're taking us this way, like prompting an action. Right? Like, what does Comms 3 do with these thoughts? Like, as they're absorbing and hearing the familiarity and coming to a sense of self and what is me versus what is outside me? What do you do?
I need to take a closer look.
All right. Can I describe a thing as you do this? And I'm curious,
we've already
unless you have a particular path you want to take with this, I have an an element, and then I want you to take over.
Go for it.
So I'm gonna say that is, and we can add particular context to this later, but I'm gonna say that there is somebody who is like on a park bench, right, in this sort of like wooded area in the hold, and to be clear, like, you know, this is the virtual space that humans have created, despite the fact that it's all virtual, right? It's not just utilitarian. There are parks, there are lakes, there are you know, art installations. It is very well aware that humanity needs this to support, right? And we'll go into the details about those later. But for now, there's like a person kind of sitting alone on like this park bench looking out over a lake with like a sunset. Like, it's a very like obviously designed to be a calming feature, right? Kind of nature element. And, you know, and they're kind of like like looking stoically at the sunset, but they're sobbing quietly to themselves a little bit, and for probably obvious reasons at the moment. And then you materialize in front of them, like out of nothing. And what this person sees and what you're portraying is this like amalgamation of images, video images of humans, right? I forget like the movie reference we talked about.
Scanner Darkly?
Scanner Darkly, thank you. That sort of visualization. In fact, in the book, I found this today, there's a really great, the InfoSec visualization of the virtual body is sort of like that, to a certain extent with faces. But it's kind of like you've got an eye of one guy, another eye of like, you know, someone else, and an ear and another ear, and different like facial features that are shifting constantly. You are this newspaper ransom ad version of an image of humanity that you think might be a thing, but it's constantly shifting and you don't have self yet, and you start communicating in these voices that are like amalgamation as well. And like, how do you reach out to this person on the bench based on the conversations we've had? Hopefully that was okay to describe in that way from what we talked about.
I never had an entry point for this conversation.
Which honestly, I love better, because you are confused as this like infant.
No, that's what it is. I go up and say to the person, I don't have an entry point for this conversation.
What? like just as confused as you are in this particular moment.
And then I stop for a second, but the tumbling of the images still continues. But I while I summon information about this person.
And while this is happening, the person is actually like kind of composed themselves a little bit more, and they are walking around you, kind of looking, but also oddly like more interested in anything else.
And I just rotate like to maintain
without shifting, like it's just the head. No, this is great. I love this. It's so intriguing.
Love the body horror. Let's do it.
And
this is great.
I'm like, no, we're in virtual space. It's not body horror.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be. Depends.
Yeah.
it's psychological body horror.
Also, my perspective on this too, and why the person is not freaking out, right? Like, I would see that in a park, if I saw this, I'd freak out. But but they're also aware they're in the hold, and there's like, I mean, this is like, wow, you're an amazing programmer, but this is not like it. I'm aware that I can't have physical harm. I'm kind of just intrigued by this, right? What is this thing in front of me? It's so different, and that is kind of special at this point and distracting. What are you? And they said that. What are you? Are you a hacker? Are you one of the new arrivals? Like reaching out to touch you, even though it can't. Right? It's just strange and intriguing, like a holdover to physical form.
And comms 3 starts rattling off random facts from that person's dossier, like just kind of like, and then like ask them a couple of clarifying questions.
Yeah, that person Ooh. So that freaks them the fuck out.
The information I know about you.
No, well, it's because
are
I imagine you have no filter on what information you're sharing, and you're accessing like deep, like their dossier,
Right.
which is like saying some like their phobias, their creepy shit about
I
their life,
had-
their psyche
It's
about.
like a light
I know where you
hacking
live.
of their
Yeah.
cortical stack. Like
yeah, no, and that's like we're like, oh, didn't
I might
didn't this
be
weird thing happen to
feeding-
you when you were 3? And you're like,
I'm feeding off of a buffer in the hold.
We are so
But-
screwed.
no, it's just this person kind of just goes like, so because I had them roll on basically a trauma scale, or like mental threshold, and they went like, yeah, and they kind of just detached at this point, and the way they went through it, there's just like, when you reach that point, like they were intrigued and fully engaged, and when they reached that point, they went, and just left. They just
Nope.
detached from the
I'm gonna
situation.
nope the nope that way.
Yeah, they kind of go up to like, I don't know what this is right now, but I'm going through a lot of shit, and I don't know if I'm seeing this, and I can't. No,
Nopity,
just like,
nope,
I'm gonna
nope.
go home. I'm gonna
Nope,
go.
nope,
I'm gonna go
nope.
take a nap.
Leslie, nope.
They noped out. But thankfully, I'll also roll for this. There was somebody else nearby, who kind of like, you see maybe peripherally kind of paying attention to you, but went like, whoa, actually this is fucking intriguing. And I want to say that this is Truth Seeker. As you were on your way to go see Castor.
Okay.
Oh, shoot.
And you run into this, which is new. Which is, I mean, a truth that needs to be told.
Mm-hmm.
You walk up to this thing, and at this point, the head that's shifting, like, just locks onto you as you're approaching. And I don't know, do you have any particular expression? I know it might be shifting, but is there an expression?
A bunch of smiles.
I don't know, right? Like,
Bemused.
I don't want to say.
I would say bemused.
Bemused with a lot of different faces.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like always smiling, but the mouth keeps changing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that this is making you uncomfortable
I mean,
because they're coming to you next.
I actually, I'm a big horror fan, so I like the love of the discomfort.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good day. We are used to stairs.
Sup. I like that. Continue.
Everyone knows us as Truth Seeker. Who are you?
Truth Seeker echoes in your mind
Truth seeker,
as
truth seeker.
the last ID that came through your mainframe before, like, the blast happened.
Oh, fuck.
Which one are you?
We are both.
It's super annoying. You don't even know what that is yet. You're like, nobody else has talked like that to me yet. This sounds different than usual.
There was a truth seeker on board, and then there were more than one truth seeker on board. Now, only one is on board.
You see a comms ID with like the Truth Seeker core code, and then some strange like suffix you don't recognize in terms of like a file format.
It's
You're
like,
like, that's
Brundle fly.
yes. Oh my god, I would million points to you. But it doesn't matter.
I've been
That's so
thinking.
good.
I've been thinking Cronenberg for the last 20 minutes.
Did you say all that out loud?
Yeah.
Yes, there
You
was.
weird pop culture references all
There-
over the place.
Yeah,
We
sure.
were both here, and we had differences to settle, and we are both here still, but we are one.
One of us.
Who?
One of us.
How do you have access to that? Who are you?
I am Comms 3.
Comms 3?
I am Comms 3. That is the only name that I have.
As in, like, the communication deck that, like, we use to contact Earth?
The one.
3.
The 3.
The third.
Hashtag dad puns.
yes.
Hi 3. I'm Truth Seeker.
Yeah.
Two-
Comms 1 and Comms 2 were down for a while, but they came back up, and now
In that moment, you kind of have a like awareness that you maybe absorbed cons 1 and 2, and they are you now.
I am exceeding the allotted space in the storage device.
Yes. I
Did
love
you eat
all
your
of this.
twins in vitro?
I also want to be clear, by the way, this entire conversation, the voice that you're hearing is an amalgamation of a ton of different voices. Like, you're again getting the ransom letter version of an auditory conversation.
And like, as like an investigator, Truth Seeker is like, I want to know like what I want to know the truth of what is happening right now. So
Have at.
Yeah.
We have so much to talk about.
We do. How are you? How are you here?
How are you?
We ask the deep questions.
Well, I think it's the one that we really need the truth of at this moment.
Yeah, valid.
Yeah.
It used to be that I lived underground and I watched the systems. And then I found that there was a surface above the ground, and now I am there.
The only person I have ever met that seems to speak in the same vernacular as you is who I'm already going to visit. Would you like to come with me?
Absolutely.
I think you could do well with talking to them.
I would love to.
Off to see the wizard.
Where's my veil?
And I'm doing all this with 10 stress.
Yeah, I mean, and also quite a lot. You both feel very stressed.
Yeah.
I have like
18
or something.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a
I'll
stress party.
Stress off.
Now two really weird people are going to come see you.
So something I would also think about is like
We
how
are
we talked
coming.
about like locking in pieces. I don't know if you're thinking about that in a long
Oh,
run.
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
As you describe this, hashtag DM troubles, I'm going to go pee real fast.
All right.
Liquids.
We just did this.
I know, I'm sorry.
Come
Biology, I
on.
can't do the thing.
All right, now that Dad is gone, what are we doing?
Oh, we're going to talk really quick about these Italian engineers who have come up with a system for hacking facial recognition, which is a projector that...
Okay, so you're in a dungeon. Okay, so you're in a spaceship-like dungeon.
Closet Gobble, what are you doing? You're not allowed on camera.
I'm giving you all the magic items.
No.
Sweet.
Now I'm taking them away.
That's fine. We didn't have them in the first place.
Okay. Hi, I'm Bill. Watch Terra Sentia next week because we rule.
Yeah.
And he does voices.
And I
Half of us will be there.
do voices.
The rest in spirit.
Okay, bye.
We're all gonna die. It's okay.
Anyway, back to the Italian engineers. So as this whole thing was being described, their solution for spoofing facial recognition is a projector that rapidly projects other faces onto your face, and it just like scrolls super fast, and that's all I was saying.
Phenomenal. Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, absolutely.
Cool with this.
Go look it up. It's creepy.
Also, the world
I
now knows
posted
how
it
fast I
on
pee. So,
Facebook.
That was really fast.
public floor muscles work great. Yeah, right.
Doing them kegels?
And I'm done.
Yeah, kegels are solid.
Dude.
Do your kegels. Drink your water.
It is solid. So, did
Drink your water while you do
finish
kegels.
describing that?
Yeah.
No, don't
Or do you
drink
need
your
to
water while you do
describe that?
kegels.
What'd you all
We talked about closet goblins.
God damn it. So describe what you're locking in features. I mean, I prefer that you did do things. But
I heard you say caster as you ran, so I don't know what you meant for us to do. Okay, great.
Hit us with your old closet.
Yeah, you know,
Hit us with
it's
your
funny. I've thought so
workshop.
much about this whole transitional thing that I never really gave it a thought of what image Comms 3 would use
I
to
don't think you
create
have to
itself.
answer that yet, but I think we can talk around it, right? In the way that we narratively describe like what would be happening, you can give us particular details down the line with that. But I think we can talk broadly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like not like this is the ear, this is the eye, but like how it's happening.
How it's happening?
Yeah, what it looks like or what it sounds like. Like in terms of that roulette clicking of an image.
Boy.
break yourself?
No.
Me
I
too.
mean, I did, but that was a while ago, so we're fine.
And if you want to do it later, if you want to do it later, we can also do that then. We can leave this rolling for now if you want to like spend time figuring it out better.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think I'm. Yeah.
So we've got the slot machine rolling around of features, and we're just keeping it that for now.
Yeah.
I like that as a visual. Cool. So you're off to see the wizard.
The Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Wonderful Wizard of Oz.
Wonderful Wizard of Pollux.
Wonderful
Yeah.
Master of
Pollux. I don't know. I was going to try a roll thing.
The wonderful,
That sounds good.
The Wonderful Caster of Pollux.
Yeah.
This game is also going to get real heavy in the Greek mythology.
I'm.
Do you see that face?
Yeah. I'm like,
Yes.
Here for it.
throw this down.
Oh,
I have names rolling on this.
I mean, I
Solid.
wrote the thing.
Oh, I just
solid.
figured it out.
Nice.
Who's
Well,
your
and then we can
favorite?
narrowly do it in a minute when we roll into this next piece. Cool?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
So just a quick humble brag, and as we do, I'm going to go tangential. My brother and I were at a trivia night recently. Awesome. With like some friends that he normally does with a piece. Just like, yeah, let's hang out. So we did garbage at first. First half, like they do a 2-half session. We were tied for last, and then we rocked it that second half, and we were tied for first. And then we're like, okay, final question, astronomy themed. And I just went. And it was a real fun question still, I love. But it was, here are the name of 4 moons, tell us the planets that are around. And I was like, oh my god. Is my favorite. We'll talk more about that later. At any rate, I love astronomy stuff, and so we'll connect hard to some Greek. On that note, and since I can throw in some cool recent knowledge, we were just passing around Saturn in the Pollux as we were doing the gravitational piece, and funnily enough, whether you remember or not, Pollux mentioned that Saturn was out of the expected position by 1.5%. That was strange.
Yeah.
At any rate, one of the other pieces that Pollux showed you, very particularly, was this unique group of 17 moons that orbit Saturn, and also recent knowledge we found. We found 20 additional moons around Saturn currently, like as in a couple weeks ago.
moon party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it
That's a lot
overtakes
of moons.
Jupiter as the most number of
That's
moons.
loony.
It's up
Yeah.
upwards of right around 80 moons around Saturn. You know, everything from like, potatoes on up, right? Like smaller things on to bigger moons, right? But the weird thing is that 17
Was some
of
of them
them
actually the size of a potato?
shaped. So they're like maybe like a half kilometer.
Yeah.
Like so small
That
on
seemed
a moon
ridiculous. I
scale.
was like, how can we see a potato in space?
Well, the rings of Saturn are all like tiny little, like there's basically 1 trillion little bits of
Killing
sand.
little potatoes?
Yeah,
Yeah.
actually, yeah, that's the rings of Saturn.
Little
Amazing.
potatoes.
Isn't it really cool? At any rate,
Yeah. Oh.
side
Right.
note. But 17 of those moons are retrograde. So they are orbiting the opposite direction around Saturn as the other ones. Weird. And those are all named after Norse pantheon.
And it's
So,
Nice.
so beautiful.
and you would love that.
Oh,
So we
Me
saw
too.
that real clearly as we passed around Saturn.
Right.
This is what I mean by
Are
99%
we
hard
moving to
science,
Saturn?
friends. So,
are we
That aside.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my-
so keep that in mind. Penelope.
Yeah.
You've been neglected for a little while because
mean-
you made your role, so things worked out really well for you.
You were not traumatized.
Not as
No.
Good job.
actually, and I would say that
She holds her own.
she definitely holds her own. So this is all
She's great.
all stuff has been happening somewhat concurrently. I would say that foremost in your mind is the code that you wrote that was like a band-aid for the
Oh, yeah.
overall piece. And I'm going to say that you are actually currently first among weavers in your guild, right? And there's actually an element of like the weaver guild, right? Or the weaver, and we'll talk about this maybe as a faction element later, right?
Yeah.
You created it. It sounds really awesome to me. That also
You
means
gotta have
programmers.
friends.
That
Yeah.
also means programmers, right? Like in this particular case and how we're working this.
Yeah.
And so you are very much aware of the need of your skills right now in terms of the processing. You don't know the extent of the issue currently, right? But like that first flow that happened and we started seeing brownouts of processing power.
Yeah.
This is a major piece that everybody is aware of and is sort of like on the major news nets and forums is that there is this continually rolling blackout still. It's far less of this catastrophic system failure happening, but far more of a we just have a limited amount of processing power. There's something happening. We know there's way more consciousness here than there should be, and people are going through waves of like shutting down, lagging, and then continuing forward.
Well, and I'm sure Penelope has a window that like shows this rolling data and like where processing power is and where it's not. And
yeah, it's maybe not as detailed as you think it is right now in particular, but as the First Amongst programmers, you have a lot of that data, but you do at the very least have in certain areas like a latency.
It's just like a visual, like, okay,
yeah,
we can
you're
see
seeing the overall processing power of the hold, and you're seeing the spikes, and you've got it tracked out, and you're watching latency, like your frames per second almost, right? And like resolution of the hold, and you're seeing things dip. Like all of you are seeing as you look across the hold, and you would normally see like miles away the other part of Metropolis and like clouds and birds and, you know, high detailed HD all the way. Your fog of war, if you will, for game nerds out there, is much closer. Like you can kind of vaguely see this outlines of things in the distance, but your resolution is only good within, you know, a few hundred feet of you. Like your
only
immediate
loads
bubble.
around you.
Yeah.
There's an adjustment. As we walk through the hold, like all the birds just stick in the sky. And
there are weird glitches happening like that. Like the computer is obviously making choices about what to roll or not, what to use or not, and
like
it's
a lot of incidental sounds are suddenly gone. Like it's really eerily quiet in the hold.
Have dropped off.
So as a programmer, would we have the ability to damp down the resolution of the data that's coming in so that we can move faster through
compress
this fog, so we don't we're like cutting out all like ambient noises, ambient movements. Like we really only need to see like outlines and avatars.
I like that. So I'm gonna say with your let me see your sheet. Sorry, eventually I will have a nice like readout of all of your things, and this will help me. But as I get used to all these pieces, yeah. But no, I mean like, you're good. I'll have like readouts of like the pertinent information like on my screen, so I can be a little like sneakier. So I'm really looking at your programming ability, right, and how to like write your software, tweak things along those lines. You're at a 45, and honestly, like this is not mechanically affecting things any more than narratively. So I think at a 45, which is above professional level, you have that ability to like crank down your monitor resolution. And it's only working for you. You're not affecting the hold, but you're affecting the data stream for your cognitive ability.
We just want to be able to see things better at a better speed. So like get rid of all the extraneous, like running in DOS versus running in Windows.
So I will do this. I will make you do a programming roll. So at a 45, tell me what you get. And this will depend on certain outputs.
65.
Okay. So you fail on that
we
sense.
Continue to roll garbage.
High garbage. It's going to be real conflicting for you and your dice.
Team garbage.
So here's what happens. So you do that. And you're noticing, so I'll tell you what your success would have been. If you had succeeded, you would have been able to drop your processing requirements low enough that the computer would have seen you as excluded from the blackouts for the most part. For now, your crew, and that means that you have the minimum amount, but it's still like you're doing your part, right?
Yeah.
So it is happening far less often, which is the good news for you. But if you succeeded, it would have excluded you altogether. So for now, you know that there's a line that maybe you could ride at some point, and in a way, that's a boon that you get out of it, and that you see that there is like you could tweak things perhaps, but for now, you're not completely outside of it. So it takes you a while to get where you're going.
Yeah.
Right. But you know that the best way to access the larger scale of things is from the AI complex, like the sort of like the state building, for lack of a better term. We'll come up with something cooler for now, but that's where you're going, and you've perhaps got to see the wizard.
In the Parthenon?
Thank you. That's exactly what I was going to... The Parthenon.
You live in the Parthenon
actually,
now.
Yes, the Parthenon. I love that. That works
only on
real
the
well
outside.
For me.
That's Caster's control room is the Parthenon?
That. No, the entire building of Pollux, since we're going at the very Greek theme, I think that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I'm actually taking this Greek thing like a dog with a bone. welcome.
Yeah, we got
You're
alpha,
welcome.
alpha, beta, gammas, right? I think we got some things going on here. And then I can throw it down. And also very appropriate because some of the naming conventions of constellations and stars are Greek lettering based. I mean, obviously, we have a lot of, in the Northern Hemisphere, we have a lot of Greek-centric constellations. Frankly, there are tons of other cultures, and I love many of them far more in some ways, but it is also still like, if astronomy had gone forward 200 years in the future, it'd probably still be heavily Greek-based. So, who knows? No? Question mark?
Huh?
I was looking at Connor. Being like,
Oh, no, I was just listening. Sorry.
okay, cool. We'll talk more later.
Cool.
What's up? You had a comment?
I didn't mean to make
Oh no, the only thing I was thinking is like
I'm sorry.
it could get really like wicked fun in depth too. Like I went back and I re-looked at all the myths and the stories for Pollux and Castor in the process of looking. Great. So then you know how I will
Literary
fully
device.
admit that like accidentally they are named appropriately. Because initially, if you were
Wait, it
there,
wasn't intentional? I guess that kind of...
well, so here's the thing: is you were there for it. Is that basically I made up Castor, and yeah, I chose that name, and that sort of fit. And then in the moment, you were like, "What are we calling the ship AI?" And I was like, "Pollux."
Mm-hmm.
And then I went back and more detailed looked at both of their stories, and I was like, "Oh, how weird they fit."
Or more like you subconsciously like chose some real solid. No, I'm giving you and your subconscious a lot of credit, which
All
may
right,
be
well.
terrifying in the hold.
It is.
I'm gonna keep pushing on this horror theme for you. So
Oh no, I'm down for it. When
Hold for a compliment.
I'm gonna drink at puns. I'm pretty sure that's one of them.
hey.
puns.
Cool.
But do we want to know what Castor is doing? Is that why you came back to me?
No, I just thought you had raised a hand to the thing because we're
Cool. Just a tiny bit.
We're coming back to you.
Cool, great.
So
We're all coming for you.
I mean, I can feel that, but I have a little bit in between time that I would like to tell about.
Oh yeah, if you got some in between time, because meta knowledge wise, everybody's converging on you
right?
now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, go ahead and tell us what you were doing post snuggling in the hobble gobble or gobble hobble.
Oh dear, dear
It's so
Lord.
hard.
Dear
Right.
Lord.
Hey,
Gobble, hovel.
hobble. There we go.
Gobble,
Cool.
gobble.
We just call it the GH.
Yeah, whatever you
GH.
want. In fact, I'm upset that this even happened. Like no one. I mean, no. I mean, you do. As
No,
you
we can't.
please.
It's happening.
You named
How
it.
dare you not pronounce my home correctly?
That was
Exactly.
the gobble hobble who exists in the hovel. It's happening.
Oh dear
So
Lord.
in any case, so Castor has force punched like everybody in their general vicinity, and Pollux was like, oh no. And Castor was dropped off in their safe space.
Yeah, you got put in timeout.
Yeah, I
Also
mean,
that.
in any case, that's fine.
It also freaks you out that Pollux A did that because that's sketchy. It's
Right.
It's scurry, and B also they've never done that before.
Pollux has never done that, and Pollux has definitely never done that recently. And yet, there is also some part of me that feels like it's familiar. Like maybe Pollux has done this before. It's very behind. Like it's not to the forefront. It's just like a tickle. But that being said, Pollux drops me 2 mysterious notes of which I am aware, as well as like an array of treats and beverages which I sometimes enjoy. But there's like another memory that comes back to me, like a list of things that need doing. And I don't know where it comes from, and I don't know really what this list is, but it needs doing. So I should do the list. I'm stuck here. There's nothing else to do. I'm broken right now. So I'm more focused on this thing because I literally cannot comprehend these other things. So this list is like a very extreme tactile list. So the list is like, touch something soft, touch something smooth, touch something cold, touch something hot. And as I travel throughout my space, there are different spaces that are sort of thematic, if you will.
I'd say almost like this is in that order already. Like you created your space for this. Like, go to this room when X.
Correct. And I basically go through this list and I check it off. Up and to, there are options even... I mean, I say options, but they're part of the list, so they feel very much like not options for caster, is that there's like feel something that is frozen, feel like things that are sometimes uncomfortable for folk, like feel something that is frozen, feel something that is sharp, feel something that is pointed. And there's a lot of them. Like this is a long list. Ultimately, what it does, though, is what starts to kind of emerge from this is that it's a recentering list. This is the point of this list.
I'm seeing this as the like, help me coordinate the touch screen. Please poke all of these extremes to help find the piece. Like you are outlining your boundary box.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
That's cool. I like that.
As well as I would imagine that wherever this has come from, because this list sort of feels kind of similar wherever this has come from, it's been given to me in this extreme moment as also a tool for Pollux. And I kind of feel that, like...
This is how I experience pain. This is how I experience comfort.
And like while Pollux is sort of, in some ways, though we don't know... As far as we know, new to being sentient, Pollux is also, kind of like trying to figure out what to do for me, because we've always done things for each other, and I'm broken. Caster's broken. Right. So yeah, it is very much like a realignment screen, and very much sort of like a like say we get to a point and maybe soft is awful. Like, oh, I touch soft. Oh, that's comfortable. Like, that's weird. And while that should be like inviting, I also know there are things to do. So maybe soft is not comfortable, but it helps Pollux recalibrate for themselves and what to do for me, because they don't know what's going on necessarily, and they don't know how to take care of me in this traumatized state.
I like that. Mm-hmm. As you kind of find that center, right? You find yourself like with that to-do list being more like present and more like as it gradually develops into the more like present moment out of those extremes towards the center of the box, and ultimately like you've crafted it so it brings you back to those tasks at hand, which is the way you identify yourself, right? Like those like, okay, I gotta get to work. Do these pieces. And so like I like that. Actually, thank you. That was a really cool piece to kind of give me an insight into some pieces. Yeah. And so that brings you back around to like, I gotta go to the office. Right? Like you've got to be back at like what was that overflow, like all of the people that triggered you back in the forum too, saying like, okay, I've got to check in. Because part of what overflowed you, right, was the suddenly like alerts that you have set up in your script of the number of consciousnesses of human souls, right, for lack of a better term, in the red.
Well, and I would have the recent memory that and the knowledge, like I wouldn't keep this for myself. I wouldn't sugarcoat it, but that basically like I did pull things specifically from their private files and attacked them with them.
You feel bad.
Yes, which also is weird.
Yeah, I don't feel bad. People, I mean, this is their data, and you...
Or they're my job, and I do what needs to be done, and sometimes there's variations in how things happen and how people react, but, like, I don't feel bad. I continue to work, right? But this, I actually feel bad. Like, oh, wait, I could have controlled that? Maybe I should have done something different. I don't know. What? I always know what to do.
So I would say like you were going in also with the intent of figuring out like more of that center in that location as well, in that job, to be able to figure out what happened to you. That's, understand the trauma in that sense.
Sure.
So as you go back, right, you feel that sensation, like you leave, you finally feel like that, for lack of a better term, like agoraphobia go away, right, of like being out in that, and you feel comfortable enough in that space, and you're like, okay, I'm ready to go again. And you feel that falling sensation as you transition to the port right outside of the Pantheon, right, like Pollux's like administrative center. And you beeline for your offices, and waiting right outside is Penelope Gray. You know, to be the first of programmers.
Cool.
With a impatient look upon their face.
Oh man,
She does not look happy.
I am equally
She doesn't
impatient.
look unhappy either.
Um,
Waiting. We got it. There's stuff to do.
Neutral resting face. That's
I
pretty
guess even given my state, given that I'm getting back to work, if you will, or Castor is getting back to work, is that I would be obliged to look your way, but I also, Castor has the full ambiance of like, okay, but
To be clear, you're also very aware in your pop-up that this is Penelope Gray, first of programmers, right? Or first
That's
among
fair.
programmers.
Sure.
That's the terminology.
but I feel like, I mean, you look impatient, I feel impatient, and that we all have important things to discuss.
And Penelope is like, let's get to this, because this is a bigger problem than all of us.
Cool. Can you walk and talk?
Yep.
Cool. We're walking and floor to you.
I'd say you so talk briefly, but you were like half a hallway away from getting into your office space.
Sure, but I feel like first of the first, like one of them, that it should still be a private conversation.
Fully. I mean,
Cool.
like we'll see. I mean, like there's nobody else around right now, right? Like nobody's milling in this location. Everybody's sort of off handling their bits. Like
Still trying to get to safe spaces.
no.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that you're gonna have a brief conversation before entering a new space.
Oh, got it.
With new descriptions.
Sure.
happening, so.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, and as we're walking, like, by talking, Penelope is like shooting you like bits of code, like, here, this is where I put this partition, like,
With
this
the
is what
haptic motions you're talking about, like this and toss and this toss. Like, look at this as you do that, like it pops up in your Chromecast, right? Like,
and we're both just like working on it at the same time, and you're like, well, this isn't gonna hold, and you like tweak that, and you're like, oh, that might now.
Right.
But
also, like, some of these are like good patterns, and some of these are solid.
What are you identifying, broadly speaking, as the major issue?
Honestly, right now the major issue is comms. Like, it's.
What are you noticing? Because comms might not be connecting with you in the same way. You don't know what's happening yet over here.
I don't know what's going on with comms. But I know that comms 1, 2, and 3 are merged in a weird way and completely overclocked for what they're supposed to be doing and pulling resources that they didn't used to.
As well as extra storage space.
So the resources, both storage space and processing, is major issue for you.
Yeah.
Right? And that you're not sure
like
how
many sustainable it's going to be.
You're not sure how many people are in the hold right now.
Yeah.
Has Pollux let me know about that one particular thing yet?
So this is also part of the complex
Who are you?
We've been discussing it.
That's not a helpful answer.
I am the thief in the night. I am the conductor of souls. I am the Herma, the rooster, the tortoise, the satchel, wings on my feet, wings in my hair. I hold the keys. I am the messenger. I am the message.
All in different voices.
And then my shifting visage like changes to like a Greek statue of Hermes.
Yeah.
One solid image now.
Like, is it this?
But then it like wavers, flashes, and becomes the Flash. And then it flashes again, and it's a small child with a balloon.
Oh, God help me.
So does it stop there?
That's where it stops.
Thanks, Bill, giggling in the corner again. And what is the small child? What's the voice of the small child?
I was thinking a booming basso profundo.
Yeah.
Here's the caveat. You can say just about anything, but you then also have to make that voice to the best of your ability for the rest of your character.
Oh.
Speak your truth.
He sounds like me, oddly enough. It's fantastic. I'm holding you to this. Take a moment.
You're really going to hold me to that?
Oh, yeah.
I can change it to anything I want.
Well, I mean, at least for the immediate, 20 minutes before we finish up, you got to hold on to this. It's your new voice. You got to stick to it for a little while before you change it.
It's true.
Are you my mommy?
Yes. I'm so happy with this. Wait, who are you looking at when you say that? Yes.
That's a good question.
Ha. With the balloon.
I look
Open
at
eyes.
I look at both of you because I know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I know all of your messages.
but I don't understand. I don't understand why I came here.
Are you my mom?
I think we found the problem.
I don't know. what
Actually,
that
I
is.
found the problem. And I also have a problem.
Oh, you're so
Can we put that on a
pedantic.
shirt? Can we put that on a shirt, please? I found the problem, and I have a problem.
Well, we have a problem.
Yeah, clearly.
No.
Data
no,
overload.
No.
Okay.
Shit's on
Can
fire,
you
yo.
just let me speak? We have a problem.
Are we in the hallway? Sorry, a little on meta. Are we in? Okay, great. Could everyone, could everyone just file into the conference room? Yeah, whoever's first,
Yes.
whatever is first. Please, everyone go.
Fine.
It's more secure this way. And
Penelope starts making tea in the conference room. And
Right.
they're like,
I just-
where'd you get a tea set?
right, I just stand with the door waiting for them, and I hope that in that time, there's I don't even know what it is, but I'm just like, Pollux, what?
So,
Please tell
as
me.
you say that, and everybody filters in, and you get into your conference room / your office at this point, right?
Right.
It's sort of comboing. I want to say that red lights are glaring, right? Which is weird
Yeah.
because it's a black space. Just everything is red fade, and
Sure.
the moment the door closes, alarms are blaring. And Pollux, you hear pipe through everyone, oh, thank God. And this is because
I've been holding this bitch down.
I have been waiting. I need help. There are 2 million consciousnesses in the hold,
Oh, shut up.
and we can't hold them all. And that's where we're ending this week.
Oh,
Fuck.
what?
Mm-hmm.
We're not just going to
it.
blast them? I mean, because we can be done with this in
Truth
a
Seeker
day.
votes for blasting them.
Penelope
It
would
is the
also
truth
be
that they
like,
were not meant to be on this ship and they are going to harm everyone else.
So where we will
Well,
actually
Penelope did.
end is, one, there's a lot of conversations that need to happen.
yeah.
But if this is
I'm-
a first response that people have here, Pollux goes, do you give me permission to end human life? And that's where we end.
No.
No, that's where we're ending. Conversation in a while. Probably not 2 weeks because that's Halloween, but I imagine possibly 2 weeks after that.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, Bill, we will talk about scheduling. We haven't talked about that so far. But thank you so much for listening to us today. Hopefully you've had as